Okay, I'm gonna be real with you guys. When we saw Sakaki's character from the previous episode, episode 9, two more episodes till Futsal Boys is finished, we would have thought, yeah, he's finally getting the character development that he needed. And we practically backtracked several steps in this week's episode, and I find it very frustrating because he's the only character that remains stagnant versus Haru. Haru has grown from basically a novice to an outstanding player, and his mindset has changed into becoming someone that's not going to rely or wanting to be in someone's shadow, but what he wants to do is surpass and improve his own skills. And that's what makes him so likable, on top of him already having a personality that one can get along with. But with Sakaki's problem since episode 1 or 2 is that you have the static, quiet, loner type character, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong. He's an introvert. There is nothing wrong with that. But to have it where he is so stuck in not wanting help, not wanting to cooperate, and it's like that consistently, and you would have thought, okay, last episode and possibly in a little bit into episode 8, it was starting to change around for his character, and you're thinking, finally, we were a little past halfway of the season, but he's starting to get it. And then they just said, nope, nuh-uh. And I at this point in the story with his backstory, it's a little too late, because what happened is they went through several rounds. In the beginning of the episode, they were still with their match with Momomi's high school futsal team, and they did beat them by 2 points. They were a formidable team, but their biggest downfall was the fact that because the characters are, one, kind of new to the whole game, and then two, they don't really practice. They usually will just go out to have fun, karaoke, playing video games and whatever, instead of practicing to build up their endurance and to build up their defense. They were beaten by a team that does this consistently day in, day out after school. So they were beaten because of that. But it would not shock me if, in game, or if they decide to do something afterwards, you see that Momomi's school becomes even stronger. They take this loss and use it to learn from, and they become even stronger because, again, they are unconventional. They have the style, they have the beginning tactics down. It's just a more of like building up their endurance so they can start lasting a lot longer in matches and keep up with their the opposing side. Then we have where back in episode 9, where Sakaki was in his mind, I can pass to everyone in my team. When he finally decided to start passing to his teammates, he still can't pass to Haru, and that ties in where they had another match in the afternoon. They reached the semifinals because they were in the top 8 when they were fit to get into the top 8 versus Momomi. Once they beaten Momomi, they beat another school, and then finally they're now close to getting to the semifinals. Everything is moving at a very fast pace, and eventually they will have to face, by the time this series ends, most likely the match is going to be them versus Albert, the first school of this show that beaten them, other than Okazan. But anytime there's in sports anime, you have that one team that beats you the first time, it's always revenge. That's the school that they have they have their disconnection with each other, like they're two halves of the same coin. These are guys that they have history with, so yeah, we're going after you. So they're training now to get ready to face against Albert, which most likely is going to start in the next episode and continue on to the final episode. And throughout the whole time in my head, I'm watching the episode and I'm thinking, one, he's thinking about his past Sakaki, because Haru reminds him of his old teammate. His old teammate's name is Nagato, because when they were about to go into one of their semi-final matches to get into the semi-finals, there was someone that was, I'm guessing he was an old teammate that used to go to his school, and he's mocking Sakaki. It's like, hey, how's Nagato doing? Have you heard from him? He's doing mockingly. And then where we have Yamato, Haru, is asking Sakaki, hey, are you okay? Who's this Nagato dude? He's not telling nothing to nobody. So this is affecting his performances when they have matches against the other schools. He's not passing, he can't shoot, he can't score anything. Haru and Ryu's how you say teamwork is skyrocketing. Like their combos, their passes, they're working like two peas in a pod at this point. And Sakaki, his game is off because you come to find out is that Haru, and I don't think it's much big brainer, no big brainer, that Haru reminds him of his old teammate. Now we don't know specifically as to why they still have yet to get to that, and we're like 2 episodes away, so most likely they're gonna do that, but they're gonna explain that by next episode. But even when they do, you have one more episode, and you could have wrapped this up probably 2 episodes ago with his character, and then we could have saw development on Sakaki's we could have saw his development, right? So with that old teammate mocking him, now is just getting in his head. And then they were having a meeting where they said for the next match in the semifinals, we're gonna have Sakaki sit out because his game is off. He's gloomy every day, and we're like, okay, like this guy's gloomy every day. It's not just now. He's been always like this. He's very closed off from his teammates. So once he and Haru, because he decided to go home, once Haru found him, practicing at the park and everything, he's asking like, hey, can you explain? Can you tell me who this Nagato guy is? What's your relationship? He's like, yo, it's none of your business. But if you think about it, it's because his performance and him not being tip-top shape, mentally wise, is affecting the entire team. And then we have where Haru questions him, and I'm glad he did. Props to Haru, where he's like, the reason you don't pass me, and this was like a little early in the episode before the ending, where it's like, the only reason you're not passing me is because you find I'm no good. Sakaki does not answer at all. And you would have thought that Haru would have took it as hard feelings and just like not communicate with this dude, but he doesn't. He's worried. He's genuinely worried. But unfortunately, it's like Sakaki realizes that, yeah, Haru is like my old teammate. And then he ends off the episode as, I'm not passing to you, ever. End of story. And then the end of the episode. And then you're like, probably not you guys, probably. But for me, I'm like, just when we had the progression starting, we are brought back several episodes ago. And it's like, we're about to wrap up. We're about to wrap up, and I don't know what they're going to do to make Sakaki likable at this point, because they didn't explain too much about Nagato, whether I guess he betrayed Sakaki because he was the only guy that Sakaki can pass to in his middle school, the only person he could have talked to, had a good relationship versus everyone else on his team. They didn't say if something like Nagato probably got into an accident and Sakaki probably felt it was his fault. Nothing. They just showed this dude a quick flashback of how he looks and say, hey, we're the strongest together, do that fist bump that is known in sports anime, and that's basically it. It's very very vague, and you don't know why Sakaki has this fear, and Haru is basically the replica of Nagato, and we don't know the reasons as to why, but it's not looking good for Sakaki's character at all. It's affecting the characters in the story, it's affecting particularly Haru, and overall it's just affecting his character, because like I said, when we thought he was starting to develop, he just went back to square one. And I don't know how they're going to wrap up his story by the time episode 12 comes out. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed with this episode. I never really did that for a video, but I was kind of disappointed. Like, I was really digging Haru and Ryu's teamwork, their compatibilities with each other, the fact that these characters are continuously growing and the other characters on Kyo's team is growing. But Sakaki is just, he's bringing down the morale of the team, just staying stuck in one position, and he's not talking to no one. He's not saying nothing to no one. He's taking the whole static personality further than it needs to go. And like I said, I don't know how they're gonna make him redeemable. We only have 2 more episodes to go, and I'll just have to see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know how Haru is going to work with this and try to get Sakaki to open up to him so these two can finally work together. I mean, if Haru got through his stuff with him and his dad and his idol, his ex-idol, then hopefully he can get through to Sakaki. Hopefully by the time it hits episode 12. So sorry for the downer of a review, but it's just my honest thoughts, guys. Like, yeah, I've been having a problem with this character for the entire season, and I don't think I'm the only one. So guys, do tell me in the comment section below on how you felt about this week's episode of Futsal Boys, episode 10. What do you think they can do with Sakaki's character within the final 2 episodes? What were some things you liked about the other characters in this episode? What do you think about their revenge match that's coming within the next 2 episodes against Aldebar? How do you think that's going to go? Are they going to leave it on a cliffhanger so it can go in straight into the game, or do you think they're going to actually be able to beat them this second time around? That would actually be pretty cool. But if they leave it off on a cliffhanger, that's also cool. So again, tell me your thoughts down below. The links are in the description box as always, and I'm Kimi-chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye! With